We're following an issue that is being closely tracked here in Washington, what is being labeled the worst case scenario of famine unfolding in Gaza. That's a dire warning that we are getting from a food security agency that is backed by the United Nations. And that group says that more than 20,000 kids were admitted for treatment for acute malnutrition between April and mid-July. More than 3,000 of them were severely malnourished, and images like these show the staggering human toll that we are watching play out. One child seen shoveling as much flour as he could off of an aid truck into his own T-shirt as he turned it into a makeshift bowl to carry that flour. The president today acknowledged what he and the world have been watching.
I think everybody, unless they're pretty cold-hearted or worse than that, nuts, there's nothing you can say other than it's terrible when you see the kids. And those are kids, whether they talk starvation or not, those are kids that are starving. They are starving. And you see the mothers, they love them so much, and there's just nothing they seem to be able to do. They got to get them food, and we're going to get them food.
The situation, of course, that the president is talking about did not happen overnight. Israel cut off all aid to Gaza back in March, saying without evidence that Hamas was stealing all of it, according to a U.S. government review. But when that blockade was partially lifted in May, Israel started relying on a U.S.-backed aid group, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Since then, the United Nations says more than 1,000 people have been killed by Israeli forces while trying to get food. In the face of growing pressure, Israel has started allowing more aid to trickle in over the weekend, but aid groups have said it is not nearly enough. My source tonight is Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. And Senator, when you hear the Israeli Prime Minister saying there's no starvation happening in Gaza, what, do you believe he's lying?
Of course he's lying. He is a disgusting liar. Israel had a right to defend itself from the terrible Hamas attack. But I think everybody understands that in the last 2.5 years, they've been waging a brutal, horrific, almost unprecedented type of war, not just against Hamas, but against the Palestinian people. So you got an area, territory there of 2.2 million people. They have already killed 60,000. They have injured 140,000, most of whom are women, children, and the elderly. They have virtually completely destroyed the entire infrastructure of Gaza, virtually all of the schools, the healthcare system, over 70% of the housing, the water system, and now, as you mentioned, over the last period of time, they have prevented humanitarian aid coming in, and there is now mass malnutrition, and children are starving to death. And tomorrow, I will be offering a joint resolution of disapproval to basically say, we cannot continue to provide military aid to the extremist, racist Netanyahu government that is starving the children of Gaza.
And when you try to force the Senate you're trying to force them to block the sale of weapons to Israel, yes, as a result of what you're seeing play out. Do you expect to get more support from Democrats?
We will see. I think there is.
Because of the images we're seeing?
Look, there are a lot of dynamics. And by the way, that takes us to another crisis that goes beyond Gaza, and that is a corrupt campaign finance system. So you have a super PAC called AIPAC that spends hundreds of millions of dollars trying to defend the Netanyahu government. And if you vote for a Sanders resolution or you stand up in other ways in opposition to Netanyahu, they're prepared to fund a whole lot of money against you. But I think the time is now when members of the Senate have got to start listening to their constituents back home. And the American people do not want to spend billions and billions of dollars supporting this horrific war.
What about with the White House? I mean, President Trump is saying that he's seen this, that the First Lady Melania Trump has seen these images. He's saying there is starvation there. You can't fake that. But when he was asked about new food centers that he wants to establish in Gaza, he said, we're going to be, quote, dealing with Israel. We think they can do a good job of it. Do you think
the history indicates that they can't? The only people who are able to do it are various United Nations organizations and other humanitarian organizations that did get food into areas where it is difficult to do that. What you have had recently with this Israeli-U.S. type food distribution project is unbelievable. I mean, this really is quite unbelievable. Desperate people, starving people, lining up and getting shot trying to come in and get food for their kids. So clearly, I think you've got to go back to the international organizations, the UN, and American humanitarian organizations as well.
What is your view on what the British Prime Minister said today, that if the UK is going to recognize a Palestinian state unless Israel has ended the humanitarian crisis?
Well, I think France went further than that recently, and I think the world is, look, sadly, really sadly, Israel is becoming a pariah nation. And all over the world, people are looking at a situation where the government of Israel under Netanyahu and his right-wing extremist friends are starving children. And people are trying to do one thing or the other, get food in there, or at least tell Netanyahu that if he doesn't move in a very different direction, they're going to be recognizing the Palestinian state. And by the way, when you talk about a two-state solution, it's not only a horror in Gaza. Israeli settlers are shooting Palestinians on the West Bank, destroying their property, and you have vigilantism on the West Bank as well.
Are you at the point yet where you would call what's happening in Gaza a genocide?
You can use whatever word you want.
But Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that she's the first Republican to go there.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Look, genocide is a legal term. What is going on now clearly is absolutely horrific. 60,000 people dead and 140,000 who have been wounded. But the important point is not what you call it. It is horror. And I think the whole world knows that. The answer is, what the hell do we do about it? Should the United States taxpayer, should your taxpayer dollars go to support a government that is doing it? That is the most important issue. So immediately, you got to get ceasefire, you got to get humanitarian aid in, but the United States cannot continue to aid and abet the Netanyahu government doing what it's doing.
Do you want to see United States personnel on the ground helping distribute aid? I mean, what is another scenario here, do you think?
The United Nations has done, under very difficult circumstances, a good job until they were kicked out by Netanyahu. So I would like to bring them back, and I think they're prepared to come back.
Can I also ask you about the Epstein news today? It reminded me of a video that you put out last week that we talked about at the top of the hour, Ghislaine Maxwell's demands coming out. You said last week that you believe the president should just release the files and, in your view, stop trying to deflect from what he has promised. Why do you think that the White House or the Justice Department has not done that yet, given the backlash?
I'm not going to. I'm not going to speak. This is not my kind of area of expertise. All I know is that Donald Trump ran his campaign saying, roughly, if I am elected president, we're going to release the whole file, right? That's what he said. Well, that's what he said. Do it. Now, why are they not coming clean? Well, everybody in the world has their guesses, and Trump is busy saying, well, I'm not involved, et cetera, et cetera.
What's yours?
I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to speculate. All I know is he promised the American people he would release the files. President Trump, do what you said you would do. Release the files. Let's see what's in them.
Do you support Senator Schumer's move today? He's calling for a counterintelligence analysis, basically saying he wants them to look at what is in those files in case they're compromised by a foreign adversary, that they can't be used to blackmail people here in the U.S.
I guess, yes. I think that makes sense. But bottom line is, get the information out. And it's Trump's supporters who are most avid about this. If he made them a promise, they should keep it.
Would you be okay with Congress giving her immunity to testify? That's what she wants.
I haven't thought about it. I don't know the answer to that.
No position.
You're the first person who has asked me about it.
Okay, well, when you have a position, will you let us know?
You'll be the first.
Senator Bernie Sanders, we always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.